Hello and welcome back to Assorted Beefs, where I talk about anything I want to that doesn't fit into niche tea for any particular reason. I want to talk about Raygun at the Olympics, and not just that she was bad. We know that. 8,000 foot recap for those who maybe aren't aware for some reason, but breakdancing made its debut at the 2024 Olympics in Paris this year. In the women's division specifically, one of the participants was a representative of Australia named Rachel Gunn, whose breakdance name is Raygun. Raygun came in dead last. She did a bunch of very silly looking moves that didn't really compare at all to the power and technique of the other people competing, and has since become a huge meme. This then naturally started bringing up a lot of conversation. How did this person go to the Olympics? And then from there, a whole rabbit hole came out about how the process for qualifications were rigged by her and her husband, who is her coach, to allow her to go and prevent more qualified people from attending. There are a lot of claims that she and her husband, who are very involved in the breakdancing community in Australia, were very involved in the qualifying process. Qualifiers were held in Australia, and not only was her husband one of the judges, the other ones were also their friends. And then on top of that, there were allegedly much better dancers throughout the country who were unable to attend for financial reasons, the qualifier, and Raygun and her husband had an ability to potentially help them and did not. One particular dancer people have been focusing on is named Molly Chapman, who was at that same qualifier and lost to Raygun despite being clearly better in most people's determination. And then on top of all of that, because of this terrible performance, breaking is actually being removed from the Olympics in 2028. Even despite the fact that in 2028, the Olympics will be in America, where breakdancing originated. As you can imagine, people have been talking about this like crazy on all kinds of places. You've probably seen it on TikTok and Twitter. So people are very incensed about this. There's even a petition that has like 50,000 signatures on it to investigate Raygun and her husband for what they've done here. Here's the thing though. None of that is true. These rumors seem to have started on Twitter. There's a particular tweet that has now even gotten a community note correcting it against it, but it's been seen by 1.2 million people. And because people were so confused about how someone with Raygun's skill level would make it to the Olympics and were looking for a reason, this made sense to them and they just kind of ran with it. But for each of those points that I just mentioned, there is either active evidence showing that that is not true, or at absolute best, zero evidence supporting the claim. So what did happen? It seems like for the most part, because breaking is new to the Olympics and because it is not something that's well entrenched throughout the world like it is in the US, not every region has a good governing body to be able to manage qualifiers. Raygun did win the qualifier that was held in Australia in October of 2023, and that got her her spot at the Olympics. The organization in Australia that held that qualifier is traditionally one that's more broad dance, not specific to breakdancing. They did source an international panel of judges to judge the qualifier, and you can find that list of judges in a bunch of different official places at the time that they announced. And on that list, it's very clear none of them is her husband, whose name is Samuel Free or goes by Sammy the Free. There's also no evidence that Raygun or her husband were in any way involved with the committee that managed everything or the decision on who the judges would be. There's also no evidence that anyone needed to be individually sponsored by Raygun or her husband and was denied that. From what I can see, it looks like the Olympics has a whole separate pot of money for that type of stuff if it's necessary. I feel like somebody was just remembering the movie Bring It On with that and how they needed money to go to the finals or whatever. So what happened at the qualifier? Well, good news, it was recorded. And you can see she's a little bit better.
Oh, here we go. Raygun straight out. She looks like she's got a second win back, so she's ready, back on it. Sometimes all you need is a
little bit of technical ability there. And here's the winners.
Raygun, Molly,
she won.
Raygun 2-1.
You can see at the bottom.
Celebrate.
She's definitely better than Raygun. And I'm not entirely sure if this is the exact qualifier or if this is just another performance of hers. That was cool, but I'm an idiot, so I don't know. You get the point. So she's a little bit better, but it's not like she's the savant who was overlooked. It was apparently very close in the end between the two of them, but Raygun did win, and you can find quotes from the judges saying that she won fair and square. And again, there's no evidence that these judges are in collusion with Raygun and her husband at all. As far as how we got to what we ended up seeing in the Olympics from Raygun, she's come out and said flat out that she knew she wasn't anywhere near the same level as these other competitors when it comes to technique and power. She knew that 20% of her score would come from originality or creativity, as she's been calling it, and so that's where she got some of those more like locally inspired moves like the kangaroo hop that we all know so well now. Unfortunately, this did not pan out for her, but it doesn't change the fact that it was a strategy that she took legitimately thinking it would give her the best chance. And finally, when it comes to 2028 and the removal of breakdancing, that decision had been made before the breakdancing competition this year even started. Basically, there are a core set of events that are always included in the Olympics, the permanent events, and then on top of that, that there are nominated events by the host city who will be hosting the next Olympics. In order for a sport to be included on the permanent list, which means it would always be included going forward, it has to be nominated by the host city as an extra event to include 3 Olympic Games in a row. So since this was breakdancing's first year and it had been additionally included by Paris, LA, who's hosting in 2028, would have to additionally include it themselves. And they chose not to, again, before the competition this year even started. Why LA didn't nominate it to be included again, especially because it is like a US-based thing, I'm not entirely sure, but you got to take it up with them. So to recap, it was quite literally just a perfect storm that got us Raygun doing the kangaroo move at the Olympics. There is no evidence of any kind and actively evidence against all of these conspiracy theories that have been coming out about Raygun and her husband. Regardless of Raygun's performance at the Olympics, she does not deserve to have this level of maliciousness targeted at her, and this could be actively really detrimental to her and her family. So I'd encourage you, please don't spread the misinformation. If you see misinformation, call it out for what it is. She really doesn't deserve this. Here is George being silly and then scaring the crap out of me.
What are you doing?